April 2019. That is when the last episode of the Orville aired. Pre-pandemic. Christ, it's been a long, long time. So here we are now, and season 3 has aired. Season 3, episode 1 has hit us. Renamed Orville New Horizons, but yeah, it's still the Orville. This is season 3 of the Orville, episode 1, and I'm here to give you my review and thoughts on this episode. So let's get into it. Okay, it's been some time. Like I said, been nearly 3 years. It's been about 3 years. Time flies, doesn't it? Tempus fugit. There you go. So this episode here is called Electric Sheep. This is in reference to the book for Blade Runner, written by Philip K. Dick, which is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And this is primarily a Isaac focused episode, the android. Now, if you remember at the end of the last season, if you can remember that back that far, 3 years, there was like a war between Isaac's people, the Kalon, and the Federation, for want of a better term. I don't know what they call it in this now, I can't remember. But anyway, so this episode catches up after that. Time has passed. People are dealing with what has happened in different ways. We get an opening scene, big action opening scene. This is the scene that was released online some time ago, about a month or so ago, which turns out to be a dream. Now, that's well and good. This episode continues, and we come to find out that there's a lot of hatred and bias on board towards Isaac because of the species that he is and what his species has done, even though ultimately it was Isaac that saved everyone and this sort of a thing. The Doctor's eldest son is having nightmares because of it, and a lot of people are against him and would rather see him not be on board. This leads to Isaac essentially committing suicide. The Doctor's eldest son tells him that he wished he was dead and this sort of thing, as well as all the bias that has been going on and the graffitiing of murderer down in where Isaac works and all this sort of a thing, and it leads to this story that touches upon themes of hatred, bigotry. It goes deep into suicide and all this sort of a stuff. Obviously, by the end of the episode, Isaac isn't dead. They find a way to get him back. But yeah, that's pretty much the crux of this episode and dealing with this sort of stuff. I'm not going to go any more into the story structure of the episode. The episode does run for nearly 70 minutes. It's about 69 minutes long, this episode. Now, this episode is actually written and directed by Seth MacFarlane, who obviously plays Captain Mercer on board this vessel. And all I can say is it's a weird first episode. It's a strange choice for a first episode. The repercussions of what has happened and the stuff going on with Isaac, that's fine. That kind of makes sense. But a lot of the main cast are kind of sidelined within this episode. Being that it's been 3 years, you thought they'd have given you a story that reintroduced everyone to an audience, since though that amount of time has passed. But no, a lot of the cast has been sidelined, even with some of them only having maybe 2 or 3 lines within the entire episode, which felt very, very weird. It felt like a story that should have come a few episodes down the line, and it certainly could have been written that way if you'd had a little build-up of this hatred and snippets of it in each episode leading to Isaac doing what Isaac done. But ultimately, the episode, it looks fantastic. I can't deny that. I can't fault that. The special effects are top notch. There's some fantastic action sequences, even if they are done as dreams and things like this. There's an action sequence towards the end, but it's over in pretty much a couple of minutes, and they resolve the situation. There is this other scene which is a bit silly, sort of about halfway through, where they're testing this new ship. They've got this new ship on board, which is like a one-man fighter craft, and they're out sort of testing it. But while the Orville is sat in sort of a space dock, so to speak, having its upgrades done, because that's where it pretty much is for the majority of the episode, they test this ship flying around the Orville and around the space station while it's being chased by these droney things that are shooting at it, and thusly them shooting at the droney things, which makes no sense considering how close they're coming to the ships and how close they're coming to the space station. You know, you'd never get that in a health and safety kind of a scenario. They'd never allow that. But it looks fabulous. It does look fabulous. Like I said, it touches deeply upon themes of hatred, bigotry, and suicide. I mean, the suicide stuff does go pretty deep. You see the Doctor's feelings towards Isaac come out. She doesn't know whether she still loves him or doesn't love him, because if you remember, there was a relationship between them in the previous season. And at the end, it brings up some fantastic wisdom regarding suicide. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very deep in that sense. However, I do feel that Seth MacFarlane here is trying to write this, trying to be a lot more clever than what the show actually needs to be, and touching upon these. And I know people want it to touch upon these things, but the thing the show has it's lost its humour. There was no humour within this episode whatsoever. Very little, very, very little, like there would have been before. Now, you could say because of the themes upon which the episode was playing, the humour didn't have a place within it. That is feasibly possible. But it'll be interesting to see how it progresses thematically, and whether the humorous elements of it have been dropped. Now, purposely, I am not doing any comparisons to Star Trek in this review whatsoever. I am reviewing Star Trek at the moment as well, and I'm enjoying Star Trek. This is different. This, you know, it doesn't feel like current Trek, okay? It feels old school. It does feel old school. I don't know if the 3-year gap is going to harm the show, or if it will do it any, you know, if it will benefit it. I don't know. I would lead to say that it would harm it somewhat. But ultimately, like I said, it is a good episode. It's enjoyable. I think it did overstay its welcome for 67 minutes. I'll be honest there. I don't think this story needed 67 minutes. It doesn't feel like a season opener. It feels like a few episodes in. And like I said, it's sad to see that certain characters have been sort of pushed backwards with hardly any lines. That's the bit that got me. But anyway, so that was my thoughts on it. Share your thoughts on this episode of The Orville down below. I will review it on a week-to-week basis, and I will get it up earlier than what I have today. I'll get it up almost shortly after it airs, but Star Trek will come first, unfortunately. So if this is for you, then hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Like I said, I am interested in your thoughts on it, whether they're good, they're bad, indifferent, whatever. I love to hear it, and I love to have a friendly conversation, and I like sometimes people do enlighten me about stuff when I've missed stuff and this sort of thing. So come over, come on board, and let's talk. This is AJ. See you next week. Take care all, and goodbye.